We've got another episode of the Fallbar podcast. We're in the stage of the offseason where things are moving a little slow. Jack Flaherty signed last night. We'll talk about Jack for a little bit. But today is going to be about the winners and the losers of the offseason thus far. There are chips still on the table, obviously, with Bregman and Pete Alonso and some other smaller names. But some people have made a lot of moves to help their team. Some people have been really underwhelming and basically done nothing.
Yep.
So, without further ado, before we get to that, the Tigers, in a weird way, re-signed Jack Flaherty after signing him at about this time last year, trading him to the Dodgers. He helped them win a World Series, and now he's back for, I believe it was 2 years, $35 million.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect fit. They needed a starter.
On the Tigers.
And, I mean, he was really good for them last year. And then he left, and then they just happened to get hot at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with signing some dude who you traded, I guess.
Yeah, and the thing with the Tigers is they got hot and put themselves in a position where it's justifiable for them by themselves. I think it's always justifiable to spend money on players, but they are able to justify spending money on players now that they signed Jack Flaherty. But it's because they played so well.
Yeah.
And they made the playoffs, and they won a playoff series, and they're looking to add to their major league crop of talent. And they did that all after trading away Jack Flaherty.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's going to be there. Assuming they're a good team, he's going to be there for the long haul of 2 full seasons as they try and make the playoffs again.
Yeah.
Are they still in on Bregman? Maybe.
I mean, I think all the reports that I've seen say yes, but we'll see. We'll see if they want to go that deep into the payroll this year. I'm sure they're probably taking it a little bit slow, but
I think there are enough reports to indicate that nobody is in on Bregman, basically.
Right. Yeah. No, seriously. I mean, Houston might end up calling his phone and telling him, like, look, dude, you haven't done anything nor gotten a deal bigger than the one we offered you. Like, what are we doing here?
They probably have the biggest deal on the table, and it's still a stalemate.
Yeah.
But also, if you think
it's not even really a stalemate. I think he just outright declined it.
If you think about Houston, they already replaced him. They have a new third baseman.
Yeah. The thing with Bregman is, he came up as a shortstop. Obviously, that was like 10 years ago, but
they have a shortstop.
I mean, yeah.
They have a solid one.
They have a second baseman, too.
They have a second baseman.
I think he's played some outfield.
I bet they could.
In MLB The Show, he can play the outfield, so
fair enough.
Maybe he can do it in real life.
Well, enough Bregman chatter.
Yeah.
Off-season winners, off-season losers. This isn't even. It's not even fun. Like, the team that won the off-season is the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah.
They were the best team last year. They brought back their cleanup hitter in Teoscar Hernandez. They signed one of the most exciting international free agents in the history of baseball in Roki Sasaki. And they got 2-time Cy Young Award winner Blake Snell and reliever Tanner Scott, who's been arguably one of the 2 or 3 best left-handed relievers over the past couple years.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's pretty freaking good. I mean, the thing with it is when you look at what they lost Buehler, they lost Flaherty, and they lost Lux. And to most teams, that really blows.
Mm-hmm.
But for them, they added 2 starting pitchers who are way better, like, inarguably much better.
Yeah. Net positive.
Yeah. And then they don't really need Lux that much because they have so much positional versatility.
They have Hae-Seong Kim
and they
from
have
the Korean League.
Hae-Seong Kim, who also just has positional versatility. They even list him as a util guy. And then you bolster up the bullpen with guys like Kirby Yates, and they re-signed Trinan, and they got Giovanni Gallegos, who I didn't even know that.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did.
They could turn that into something.
The Dodgers can turn me into something. Their development system is insane. And I mean, yeah, they're they're just upgrading at every position, and they even have some free agents from last year that are just still out there, like Kike Hernandez and Brent Honeywell, Mr. Live at Bats himself.
They signed Michael Conforto.
Right.
And
Yeah. Because they can.
They didn't sign him for nothing. They're paying him $17 million.
Right.
They
yeah.
don't care.
Yeah, they don't care at all. Michael Conforto will probably play like half the games.
Half the games, maybe, because like they signed Michael Conforto. If you were a non-Dodgers team and you had a left field platoon of James Outman and Andy Pages,
Yeah.
and they're both super young and they've both maybe not stuck but have shown flashes of being able to play big league baseball, you get excited about that.
Yeah.
Like if the Red Sox were rolling out Outman and Pages, I'm like, yeah, or like a lower market team.
Exactly.
You just slap $17 million of Michael Conforto.
Yeah, and then you throw in Hai-Sung Kim, and then you throw in Mookie Betts, and then you throw in Tommy Edman, Teoscar Hernandez, and then
they have
Michael
Miggy
Conforto.
Rojas. Like the defense, they can do so many different things with the defense, and I think Dave Roberts really enjoys that.
Yeah, he should. How can you not? But yeah, I mean, jeez.
I think the understanding of what the Dodgers are is pretty clear at this point, but also into 5-game series or into 7-game series, they could always lose.
Yeah.
They could always lose. They're going to lose. They might lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies this year. And we're going to be looking to ourselves like, they might lose 2 out of 3 while their record is like 50-20.
Yeah.
But we're like, they could lose 3 out of 5 to the Mets.
Right,
They could
exactly.
lose 4 out of 7 to the Phillies or the Braves or whoever it is.
Yeah, what I keep looking at is this team is not unbeatable by any means.
Baseball will never have that.
Yeah.
Like the Celtics last year were like a little unbeatable.
Yeah.
I feel like the Chiefs have been unbeatable, or like Tom Brady. Like
I
feel
those
like
really
it's
good
different in
Patriots
baseball.
teams. But like Blake Snell has had times where he's given up like baseball triple doubles where he
could
just
walk
rolls
the
out
house.
there and he just gives up 10 earned runs and walks the house. And I mean, Roki, we know, has been a little bit inconsistent. I mean, it's kind of hard to look at that because he, one, has a short sample size, and two, it's in an entirely different league.
He's also going to be a rookie. Like even that alone is enough to be wary of, especially major league postseason performance. Not saying they don't get up and excited for baseball in Korea, or in Japan rather. But Hai-Sung Kim too.
Yeah.
Doesn't have major league postseason performance. Not that they're counting on him to be the guy. Like they would count on Roki to be the guy. But
Yeah. And then all the guys they already have, like Glasnow is injury prone. I'm blanking, but
Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin.
Dustin May is literally made of glass. Gonsolin is honestly a below average MLB starter. So
all their young pitchers are injured too.
Yeah. So I mean, you never know with this team. Like the wheels could fall off, and a lot of stuff could happen. Especially like all these guys that they've had for so long are getting a little bit older. Like Muncy is not moving around as well.
34.
Yeah.
I've got 34.
And I mean, even Betts, man, which is sad to say.
Mookie's been around a while.
But he's been around for quite a while. And I mean, I don't think it's going to affect them too much this year. But you look at 2 or 3 years down the line, and maybe that factors in a little bit.
Maybe it's a little different.
Alrighty. The Texas Rangers.
I think the Texas Rangers have... So, other than the Dodgers... I'm going to pull up the Rangers right now. Other than the Dodgers, when I was going through this last night, no teams, like, moves have really blown me away.
Yeah. I don't... I mean, unless you really look at the Mets and you have that one signing that's
Yeah, well, I put the Mets on there. They got the best player.
Right.
But, like, I think the Rangers have done, like, a sneaky good job. They got Jock Peterson, who, against right-handed pitching the past couple of years, has just been a monster.
I was looking at his StatCast page the other day. It is wildly impressive.
He's just smacking the ball.
Yeah, he's hitting it so hard. It's crazy.
Now against lefties, not going to be super special.
No.
Defensive value, None.
Zero. Like, actually zero.
But, like, it doesn't matter. You're just finding sometimes, and the Rangers are in position where they can get a DH type guy.
Yeah.
Because their outfield is Langford and either Carter or Tavares or whoever you throw out there, and Adolis Garcia.
Yeah.
There's no one that's like giving up a whole bunch of defensive value there, so they can afford to stick a guy at like Jock Peterson at DH and be okay with that.
Right, exactly. They added Jake Berger and Kyle Higashioka, which I don't mind. I think Higgy was a really big part of what the Padres did last year, and he's a pretty good platoon with Jonah Heim.
People like Higgy.
Yeah. He'll put some balls out of the yard. Well, that part gets pretty hard too. But, he'll get a few.
He's got a pull. He's got a nice pull swing. He hit some over the monster.
Yeah.
The thing with Jake Berger went in. Nathaniel Lowe, is he Lowe or Lau? I think he's Lowe.
I think he's Lau.
I think Brandon is Lau. Nathaniel and Josh are brothers.
They are. Yeah, they went to a high school that's like 5 minutes away from where I grew up.
Brandon's not a brother. Cool. Nathaniel's out.
Yeah.
He was like
solid. Yeah, Nathaniel.
And Jake Berger's also fine. He's just right-handed.
Yeah.
I think they traded Nathaniel to make room for Jock, so they weren't cluttering their big lefties in the middle of their lineup. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Rangers, this is per Fangraphs. I did not know this off the top of my head. The Rangers have acquired 6 relievers since December of 2024.
Good.
6 relievers.
Good.
And they re-signed Evaldi. Their rotation's a little thin, but it was important that they re-signed Evaldi and they get DeGrom back, and they're trying to make something out of the bullpen. Yeah. So I think they've been doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, that's exactly what they needed. They needed a bolstered bullpen. I remember, I was kind of, Nick Barber came up to me and was like, what do the Rangers need to do?
Shout out Nick Barber.
Yeah, shout out. And and I was like, your bullpen is so bad. You guys score runs at a decent clip, and you have pretty solid starting pitching, but the bullpen gives up so many runs. So figure it out.
And I think it's kind of what they did. Mm-hmm. Chris Martin, Robert Garcia, these are just names. Jacob Webb, Sean Armstrong, Hobie Milner, Jesse Chavez, who's going to be a Brave by the end of the year.
Yeah, probably.
But the Rangers they kind of see that the AL West, like the Astros aren't the Astros of old, where they're going to obviously win the West and obviously steamroll the American League. And what are they called? The Mariners are still in their Mariners pit. We'll get to them when we get to the losers, where they can't hit, but they can pitch, and it doesn't really get them that far. Yeah. So the Rangers are going to make a push for it, and they've got a legit shot.
Yeah, they do have a very legit shot. We said this last time. We're putting them and the Astros kind of a toss-up for who's going to eclipse that 92, 93 win mark. That's probably going to get them over the hump. Yeah. Next on our list is my favorite, the New York Metropolitans.
They have Juan Soto.
They do have Juan Soto.
That means they did pretty good.
Jesus, a whole 15 years. I kind of reread that because it's kind of been away from my face for the last month. Yeah. And now you kind of bring 15 years back to life.
Yeah, the contract is silly.
Holy hell. But yeah. The Mets have been winning because they haven't been losing too much. They brought back Ryan Stanek, which is awesome. I love Ryan Stanek. They brought in Clay Holmes, who they're trying to turn into a starter, but I really kind of just hope he ends up being a really solid reliever. Brought back Sean Manaea, which is awesome really because we developed him into what he is now. And we signed Frankie Montas. Not mad at it. It's a very David Stearns thing that I'm going to trust because, they might have overlapped in Milwaukee. I'm not entirely sure how long Frankie spent his time there.
I'm not sure if
he was with the Reds. Oh, no, he was with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Not this past year, but the year before. So.
Frankie Montas has gone some places and it hasn't worked, and he's gone some places and it has worked.
Yeah.
David Stearns is usually pretty good with his eye on the pulse when it comes to pitching.
Yeah, exactly.
Finger on the pulse, whatever the saying is.
Right, yeah, whatever. AJ Minter, big. And then you get guys like Jesse Winker, Jose Siri's probably just going to play defense, but he's going to be really good at it. And
good at it.
And he'll hit like 2 or 3 home runs a year that are like majestic, and he like launches the bat, and it's pretty funny. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I really like what the Mets have done. Unfortunately, as of right now, they still have a lot of outstanding free agents, like Pete Alonso, Harrison Bader's still out there, probably won't be re-signed because of Siri. But like guys like Jose Iglesias, JD Martinez, and then some relievers, and then Jose Quintana. So the Mets would probably rival the Dodgers in how good of an offseason they had. Well, no. But they would probably solidify the 2 spot if they signed Pete Alonso to a reasonable contract. Which the one they have out there right now, 3 years, $70 million, I am content with. It's around $23 million a year. That is completely fine.
I have 2 points of contention about the Mets. The first one is that those 3 names you mentioned, JD Martinez, Jose Iglesias, Jose Quintana.
Yeah.
Say what you want about JD at the end of the year. JD was a pretty helpful stabilizing force in the middle of the lineup for most of it.
Yeah, JD was the whole reason the Mets won like more than 10 games in the first 40.
Jose Iglesias was very helpful. He hit for a high average, and he played great defense.
And he brought every bit of energy to that team.
And you can't count out the fact that Jose Quintana threw some good down-the-stretch innings. Like, obviously, they did not go backwards because they have Juan Soto.
Right.
My other point of contention about the Mets, if they, instead of getting Clay Holmes and Frankie Montas, if they signed Snell or Fried or Burns, then they definitely would have had the best offseason.
Yeah.
And they would be second fiddle to the Dodgers still, but it would look so much different.
Yeah.
Where if they had Kodai Senga is good. Sean Manaea is good.
Mm-hmm.
They're both really good. They're not great.
Yeah.
But if they got like one of the stud frontline starters,
right,
I think we would be talking about them in relation to the Dodgers in a completely different breath.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Corbin Burns was the one that really kind of hurt because we had the cash to do so, and we kind of passed him up. Honestly, I don't really know why there was never an intention there in the first place. I don't know if Corbin Burns didn't want to, and, we called him. He was like, no, and then we just kind of...
And that was it.
And that was it. But the one thing that can really salvage this Mets offseason is if they can somehow turn Clay Holmes into, like, a super good starter, which I don't know how that's possible, to be honest. I'm really not high on that. Or if you make a trade over there in San Diego and you go get Dylan Cease or Michael King. And those guys have proven that they can be aces, and I would be totally content with having either one as long as the price isn't Luis Angel Acuna or Brandon Sproat.
Yeah. Well, I think you might be able to swing that. I'm pretty sure it's only 1 year of Michael King.
Yeah, it's 1 year of both of them.
Okay. Well then, yeah, you should. I think that San Diego's kind of out of their heads for asking for 6 years of controllable Luis Angel Acuna.
Right.
I mean, Michael King was tremendous last year, but it was his first year of being tremendous.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Dylan Cease is kind of volatile, like Blake Snell with the high strikeout, high walk.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it'll get to a point where, at this point, the Padres aren't going to budge, but in June or July, if the Padres are underperforming, which we'll get to the Padres when we talk about the losers. If the Padres are underperforming, then maybe they want to trade one of those guys. Maybe it makes sense to. And at that point, it'll be 2 months in a playoff run, and 2 months in a playoff run of Dylan Cease or Michael King will not end up costing you Luis Angel Acuna.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good for the Mets.
Yeah.
They got the best player. So I put the Cincinnati Reds down here.
I love what the Reds are doing.
We are not really a Central Division pod, to say the least.
No. No, not at all.
But the Reds have Gavin. They traded for Gavin Lux, former top prospect, current solid baseball player. They signed Austin Hayes.
Yep.
Which is
cool.
He's cool. He's going to hit against lefties. He'll take advantage of the fact that they don't have a super big stadium. They traded away Jonathan India for Brady Singer.
Yeah.
Who gives them more stability in, honestly, what is kind of like a blossoming rotation. This is not anything groundbreaking for the Reds, but they're kind of filling in some gaps. They're putting a solid team together. They just traded for Taylor Rogers from the left side.
And they re-signed Nick Martinez.
Yeah, they've been very active in productive ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to help them. They might not make the playoffs. Like, they probably won't make the playoffs.
Probably not.
Is this a top 6 team in the NL? No.
No. But is it a top 2 or 3 team in the NL Central?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, with the Brewers looking like how they're looking, which is bad.
Yeah.
And with the Cubs kind of like trying to figure out what everybody's role is right now because they've done a lot of weird things this offseason. I mean, there's a chance they make a run for it with the right coaching and, if you get some momentum at the beginning of the year and you stay healthy.
Yep.
There's a lot to cheer for. You still got Hunter Green.
You have one of the best players in baseball, Elly De La Cruz.
Exactly. Yeah,
had a tremendous year.
You have Elly De La Cruz, who is not only one of the best, but probably one of the more exciting players. And I mean, you've got some pieces, around the field that you kind of look at this team and it's like, not too bad. Like, I'm honestly not low on this team in the slightest.
Yeah.
At least not even close to how I have been in years before. Still got TJ Friedel, who I think is solid. Right field is a little bit of a question mark. Spencer Steer's in here, Matt McClain, Jamer Candelario, Tyler Stevenson, Christian Encarnacion Strand. All of those guys can play a really legitimate role on this team.
Yeah, they have some players. I think, especially if you're playing in a Central Division, where you can win it at 90 or 92 games most years.
Yeah.
There's kind of no reason to not make some additions or make some moves like this, because, and this can't be said for the AL Central because the White Sox play there, but in the NL Central, I think about all 5 of these teams, and the Cardinals might have a lower ceiling, and the Pirates haven't really added anything, but like, anyone could be leading the NL Central after April.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you're leading it after April, maybe you're still perfectly in the mix in June or July. And then the trade deadline comes and you add another piece and then you're still in the mix.
Yeah.
So I like that the Reds are kind of getting some competitive pieces.
Yeah,
like Gavin Lux and Austin Hayes, they're not team controllable guys. They're guys that are probably going to leave for free agent contracts shortly. Lux maybe in 2 years. Hayes, I think, after this year. So they're short-term investments, but they're investments to help them compete, and I like that out of the Reds.
Yeah, especially with what they've got going on in their farm system as well. I mean, Chase Burns and Rhett Lauder are both projected to come up in this next year.
Rhett Lauder was up last year.
Yeah, he was
and
up
he did
last
pretty
year.
well.
Yeah, he had some pretty good success. I'd assume he makes the team on opening day.
I would assume so, too.
And then Chase Burns will be down in the minors for a little bit, but that should not take too long.
No.
And then you've got guys like Sal Stewart, Cam Collier, who I played against in high school, really good baseball player. Edwin Arroyo is down there. That's pretty much all they've got. That's like super exciting, at least in their top 100.
Those guys could also become tradable pieces a little bit
Right.
if they decide to really go for it and
Yeah.
add somewhere else. Excuse me.
Right. So, I mean, I really like what they're doing because the guys in the minors can come up one by one and start adding more wins here, more wins there. And the rotation is going to look really solid
And it's young, too.
in, like, next year, honestly. With, again, Hunter Green, Brady Singer, Nick Martinez, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott. I mean, and then you add Rhett Lauder in there, Chase Burns, or maybe Chase Burns goes to the bullpen. I mean, that's pretty freaking good on the pitching end. You just need a few guys to hit the ball out a little bit more. But
shout out to the Reds.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bourne.
Thank you, Bourne.
All right. Within the winners, I've got two winners that are kind of losers.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays signed Santander. They traded for Andres Jimenez. Those are two high-quality starting baseball players.
Yep.
That's for sure. They signed 40-year-old Max Scherzer, which I don't have anything to say about.
I don't have anything there either, really.
He's 40.
He's Max Scherzer.
Maybe he's still good. Yeah, he's Max Scherzer. He's a Hall of Famer.
He's got two colored eyes.
And then they got Jeff Hoffman, so they have a great back-end reliever.
Yep.
They got Nick Sandlin also in the Jimenez trade, which is just another arm. Their bullpen looks solid. Their rotation is not what it once was at a time when we thought, wow, this Blue Jays rotation is incredible.
Yeah.
It's not really like that.
No.
But it's still okay.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, Bowden Francis and Kevin Gausman obviously highlight it, I think. But as I'm pulling it up here, yeah, Jose Barrios and Chris Bassett are pretty solid. They have a nice starting five rotation guys.
Yeah, they're getting a little old unless you're Bowden Francis.
Yeah. Like, if you look at this rotation, it kind of screams really good off the page. Like with Gausman, if you go down the line, you got Gausman, Barrios, Bassett, Bowden, and then Scherzer. You're like, wow, that's a good rotation. Like, look at these names. These guys are good baseball players.
It screams really good if we were in 2022.
But that's the thing. Exactly. We're in 2025 now, and Bassett is going to be okay. Barrios is going to be hit or miss. He'll probably strike a lot of guys out, but he'll probably get rocked a bunch too. And then, unfortunately, Scherzer is just not going to be the same guy. His fastball will dip into the high eights, I'd have to assume, by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's just the way it goes when you're 40 years old and you're pitching in the major league. So, I mean, when you look at this team, it's not that bad. They can win games, but, I mean, you still got Dalton Varsho in center field, who is like a defensive wizard,
Yeah,
but
really
I don't think he hits his weight. And then you got Springer, who is similar to Scherzer in some form. You have Santander, who provides little to none defensive value, but, you know, he'll hit some balls out. He'll sell some tickets. And then you got Bichette, Jimenez, and Guerrero, who are definitely the highlights of this team, even though Bichette was pretty horrible last year. But
I don't anticipate that's going to get repeated.
Yeah, I can't say that would have the same, that would repeat. And then Alejandro Kirk and Ernie Clement. Look at those guys go.
But the Blue Jays, I mean, they got a couple players. They're still doomed.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, I look at this offseason, and it's like, wow, they got Santander, Hoffman, Gimme Garcia, Max Scherzer, and Andres Jimenez.
That's good.
That's awesome. But they had an opportunity to get so much more, and they just couldn't get it over the hump.
Well, that's always how it goes.
Yeah, that's what happens when you play in Toronto. People don't want to be taxed in the craziest tax bracket ever.
Taxed out the chute.
Yep.
All right, I think to transition from winners to losers,
I totally agree.
as we've got like whatever, 15, 20 minutes here.
Yeah, 20.
The New York Yankees, they lost the offseason because they had the best player available, and they no longer have the best player available.
Yeah.
And then I think if you look at their moves and their acquisitions, not taking into consideration that they had and no longer have Juan Soto, I think I would put them as one of the top winners of the offseason.
Yeah. I think that naming them a winner in a weird way is a pretty good description because they, like, when you look at these subtractions of Juan Soto, Gleyber Torres, Clay Holmes, Nestor Cortez, Tommy Kahnle, that is
hurts.
crushing
That
for
hurts.
most teams, and Jose Trevino, who played a pretty solid amount of games. That really sucks a
Yep.
lot. But they salvaged it by signing Fried to a relatively manageable contract. They traded for Devin Williams, which is big. They didn't really give up much. They traded for Cody Bellinger, same thing there, didn't give up much.
Mm-hmm.
And then they signed Paul Goldschmidt, who will play a decent role. He'll really like that left field porch. And then got Loaisaga back, traded for, some other guys who are pretty irrelevant. But the problem with this is Tim Hill's still out there. He's probably not going to be a Yankee again. Anthony Rizzo's still out there. Same story there. And Alex Verdugo.
I don't think I want those guys.
You probably don't want those guys, but those are the guys who helped take you to a World Series just last year. Like, when you look at who's still out there and who they lost, that is a lot of the team that played to get them to where they got last year. And it's hard to just, ditch some guys and sign some other guys and, everything's all well again. I think we know this best, and it's like culture and, stuff like that. Keeping a consistent culture and chemistry is like so important.
It really does impact winning.
It really does. And when you're just like kind of kicking guys to the curb, and then you bring in some guys who are super talented and exciting, but there's just too much going on here for me to be like, ooh, this is an awesome offseason.
That Yankees group last year did kind of have a weird way of gelling.
Yeah, they figured it out, and I kind of when I look at this, it's like not too bad, but it's I can't wrap my head around a couple of the guys that they lost. But
well, the way I think about it is the Yankees obviously still have a hole. It's either second or third. It depends what they want to do with Jazz. But there's a position in the infield where they could add, and it could mightily improve their team. Their rotation is really good.
Oh yeah,
it's really good.
It's really, really good.
They basically have on years they have 3 number 1 starters.
Yeah.
With Cole Fried and Rodon. They have Luis Heel, who a little controversially won American League Rookie of the Year, but he still won it. And they have Clark Schmidt and they have Marcus Stroman, who I know they're trying to trade, but like Marcus Stroman is still Marcus Stroman. For him to be your 6th best starting pitcher,
that's pretty impressive.
Is a pretty good position to be in.
Yeah.
They got the best closer in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Well, no. Emmanuel Clase is probably the best.
Devin Williams is not too far off if he's not.
Not too far off.
Luke Weaver was elite down the stretch.
Yep. And now they don't need him to close.
Right, exactly.
They can be more creative with him.
Yeah, and you still got guys like Fernando Cruz, Jay Cousins, Mark Leiter Jr., Loaisaga. These are guys that, they just play the right role for the Yankees.
I'm excited about the Yankees pitching. Well, I'm not really excited about anything Yankees ever, but I'm excited for the Yankees about their pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for the Yankees and for Cody Bellinger that he's playing on that team. I think he'd be good for New York. I think he'd be able to handle it. I think he's obviously not Juan Soto, but
yeah,
I think that this lineup maybe barring one addition, does enough. Now, we're not talking about trying to play in the playoffs with the Mets and the Dodgers.
Yeah.
We're talking about playing in the playoffs with the Rangers, who we talked about have holes, and with the Orioles, who win in the regular season but can't win in the playoffs, and with whoever comes out of the mighty Central. This lineup, even though Juan Soto is gone, can compete and beat any of those teams still.
Yeah.
So I think the Yankees have the rebound off the Juan Soto loss. This is something that we've said a couple times, but the rebound off the Juan Soto loss has at least put them in a good direction.
Yeah, and I think their biggest competition this year is going to be in their own division. So the fact that they get to play those guys a lot really benefits them when it comes to the playoffs. And I think what we're going to see from this team is one of two things, and it's going to be they catch fire at the beginning of the year, and everything comes together just like how David Cashman wanted it to.
Bellinger's an all-star.
Yeah, like Bellinger just is a freak, and he keeps putting balls out of Yankee Stadium, out that short porch, and Judge is his old self. And Dominguez is the exciting prospect that we've been waiting for 5 years. And then Volpe turns it around, and then they figure out who the third baseman is. Like, this is all possible, like, at the end of the day. But what also could happen is Bellinger returns to his 2021 self, and Jason Dominguez is, like, this average guy. He's not this, top 2 prospect that we've been wishing for the last, 4 or 5 years. And then Volpe, LeMahieu, Chisholm, Goldschmidt, they all return to the way they were last year. And then you're looking at this lineup and you're like, wow, that's not a really scary lineup whatsoever.
Right, it could be a crapshoot.
It could. It totally could. So, yeah, there's a lot that can happen in this Yankees team. I think what is pretty safe is that their starting pitching is not going to give up a whole lot of runs. Yeah, and it's going to be tough to beat them in the first 6 innings of the game.
So the Yankees are a winner and a loser. Some of the losers that just teams that are close to contention, good but not great, that just haven't done anything. The San Diego Padres, and I know that they are hamstrung with ownership trouble and regional sports network trouble.
Oh, my God, I didn't realize how bad this was.
And they have good players still, like, laying over from last year. They have good pitchers laying over from last year. But they have added absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
And when you have not made a World Series, have they made a World Series?
No.
Yeah.
No, because they lost the Phillies in 22 or 23 or whatever it was.
Yeah, when the Phillies lost the Astros. But when you've been knocking on the doors of a pennant, and I'm about to sneeze. Hold on.
Bless you.
Thank you.
One more.
Maybe. But when you've added nothing, how are you gonna compete with the Dodgers? The Dodgers added, and you added nothing, and you started off worse than the Dodgers.
Yeah. I mean, like, fortunately for them, their core was not on any sort of market this offseason, trade or free agency. So you still have, obviously, Machado, Tatis, those guys, Merrill, Bogarts,
Merrill's great.
Sweet. But Fangraphs has, has Tirso Orleans as their opening day left fielder.
Nelas.
Or Nelas. Yeah, I read that wrong. What?
What is that?
What? They have Luis Arraez as their projected first baseman, Cronenworth moving back to second. What are we doing here, Padres?
Not only did the Padres not add anyone thus far to this point, last year's Padres team had Jurickson Profar and Ha-Seong Kim on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both really good.
Yeah.
For different reasons, but they were both really good last year.
Really good. And even Kyle Higashioka, who wasn't really good, played a perfect role in that team. In the 9 slot, he played well in the playoffs. And he's definitely better than Elias Diaz and Luis Campusano and Martin Maldonado. So, what are we doing?
The Padres signed Mike Brasso.
Like, did that just happen?
No.
Oh.
It happened a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, sweet.
That doesn't count.
I haven't
as
even
doing
heard
anything.
of Mike Brasso
And
since
also-
he hit that home run off of Aroldis Chapman.
That one home run
Yeah.
a bunch of years ago.
Yeah.
Also, if you trade Dylan Cease or Michael King like we were talking about, then now we're going backwards.
You're really going backwards.
Then what's to say you shouldn't trade Fernando Tatis Jr.? Like,
Yeah. I think the one shining light on this team is the fact that they have Cease and Michael King.
yeah,
And if you're trading, I mean, if you're going to trade one, you should trade both.
honestly,
Because that way you get a massive prospect haul, and hopefully for them, you're back in the position you were last year in 2 years or maybe next year. But this year is looking bleak. I mean, their only notable acquisition on MLB.com is Elias Diaz, who was probably the pity all-star of all time in 2023.
well, every team needs a guy.
I mean, even David Peralta played a really solid role for them, and they still haven't brought him back.
Yeah, it looks bleak, not in the sense that they're bad, because they're not bad. They have a lot of good players. It just looks bleak in the sense that it's not good.
I mean, every critique you have of the Yankees, you have with the Padres, but worse.
Yeah,
Because they
they didn't do anything to fix their holes.
They have the outfield stud in Fernando Tatis Jr. They have the young stud in Merrill, which is kind of similar to Jason Dominguez in a way.
But Merrill's done it.
Yeah, but
at
Merrill's
this
done
point.
it. But they had, similar hype. Xander Bogaerts is great, but he's getting old.
And he's got that fat contract
Yeah.
that the Padres backed themselves into.
And Manny Machado, same story there. Getting a little bit old. Still a great player, but probably won't be the same form he was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you have Luis Ariz, who doesn't know how to play defense at first base. And, I mean, you're kind of I'm looking into their backups, and Tyler Wade is in there. Like,
Tyler Wade played a lot for them last year.
it's just like,
Yeah. Like, the Padres are so hamstrung.
yeah.
So maybe they're not going to add. I mean, what else? What's out there at this point? They're not going to add Pete or Bregman. They can't afford another big contract.
No.
They couldn't even afford to re-sign Jurickson Profar.
No.
So
Yeah, I mean,
good luck to them. They're still probably a playoff team.
Yeah.
But their ceiling is just not high at all, especially as the rest of the National League is working on getting better and you are getting nothing.
yeah. And they only have 2 top 100 prospects, and they are both projected to come up in 2027. So, long ways away.
Those prospects are good, but like they don't matter.
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
they're great, but who cares?
All right, let's head up to Pacific Northwest.
Shalimar.
The Mariners, the best rotation in baseball. Easily, bar none,
Yep.
obviously.
Unfortunately, they have bar none a bottom 5 offense in the entire league, and
We've
they
been-
didn't do anything
We've
about
been
it.
saying that the Mariners have the best rotation in baseball. That's not a new revelation.
Not even
They
close.
signed Donovan Solano to shore up their offense. I think there's absolutely no reason Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman both should be getting introduced as Seattle Mariners tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
If
Why
the negotiations
not?
have gone on
Why
for this
not?
long, you need hitters. They're both hitters. If you sign even one of those guys, you would be looked at as a real player in the AL West. For now, their offense has been so lackluster that, in my eyes, they are the third team in the AL West, and it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. And they have $140 million in payroll, which is pretty middle of the line, if not bottom of the line, I'd have to assume.
Yeah, it's towards the lower end.
And it's like a team with Julio Rodriguez, Randy Rosarina, Cal Raleigh, and Jorge Polanco could be really good if you put like a Pete Alonso at first base and you put a an Alex
Put
Bregman
Alex
at
Bregman.
second base.
Yeah, or third. Dylan Moore can play all around the field. Dylan Moore was
Yeah.
actually like solid.
Yeah. I mean, J.P. Crawford has had some good years. Jorge Polanco is aging, but he's solid.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch Garver's solid.
The only
and
problem
then
with
Mitch
the Mariners
Haniger's
is
decent.
they added Polanco and they added Garver and now they're adding Solano, and they're thinking that that's going to be what does it, and that is not what does it.
No, not at
because
all.
they're still stuck here.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense why they haven't. It will never make sense to me why they haven't even tried to go for Alonso.
Go for a big one.
Yeah, overpay a little bit. Give Alonso the
Yeah.
$25 million that he wants, maybe, or like,
Yeah, honestly,
or-
just do it.
or Bregman. Spend a little bit more than you need to because they have so much.
When
to spend.
When the Mariners had Nelson Cruz, and he was not really doing anything defensively, but he was just smacking balls out of there, it was great.
Yeah.
Their offense had a little more thump to it. Go get Pete to smack some balls out of there.
Yeah.
Or like JD Martinez.
Sure. And I went back to that revenue to payroll chart, and the Mariners made more money in 2023 than the Mets did, and their payroll was half.
Wow.
And that right there is why the Mariners need either new owners or a new GM,
That's why they're not going to be winning.
and that's why they're not going to be winning.
The Mariners are big on. Jerry Dipoto likes to make a lot of trades. They're big on making little marginal additions, but they're only getting them so far.
Yeah, little marginal additions will never, ever, ever win you a World Series. Not in today's game.
Yeah.
Not even close.
All right, let's hit the Pirates. I don't even think we need to hit the Twins. The Twins.
Yeah, the Twins are so relevant.
are so
It's
relevant.
freaking ridiculous.
The Pirates are also like a little irrelevant, but also their pitching is
Super cool.
super cool, and they have Paul Skeens, who's super cool,
Yeah.
and they have a chance to compete, but they don't have hitters, just like the Mariners.
Right, exactly. I mean, as of, whenever, like, if you look at a team, oh, God, this infield is brutal.
The Pirates infield.
Oh,
IKF, Nick Gonzalez. Brian Hayes, not brutal fielder, pretty brutal hitter.
yeah, I'm more looking at the bat.
Yeah.
Joey Bart, Spencer Horwitz, yippee. I mean, it's literally like looking at the Mariners.
It's worse,
It's probably
way
worse.
worse,
Yeah,
but-
it's definitely worse.
but it's kind of the similar.
But it's the
similar
same
principle.
story when you have Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, and Jared Jones frontlining your starting pitching, and you've got David Bednar, who's been an all-star multiple times, and even Holderman is pretty solid. Like, there's a lot of bright spots in the pitching, and you still got McCutchen, who's a Pirates hero, and then you just look at this infield, and it's God Almighty, it's bad. They got Adam Frazier, I guess.
They have Adam Frazier back again.
Yeah.
That doesn't really do much for
No,
me.
not at all. It does literally zero. Adam Frazier is like a bottom 5 player in the entire MLB right now.
All right,
I'm so serious. He brings no value. I'm gonna pull up his StatCast so I can continue hating.
The Adam Frazier hate. He was never on the Mets, right?
No. But like, dude, I just think it's kind of funny. Like, that's really bad.
Okay, yeah, he's pretty bad. Maybe his time has come.
Yeah. Anyways.
Just to wrap it up quickly, the Orioles could be making a big move, and they didn't.
Yeah.
They got Tyler O'Neill, who's cool.
Yeah. That's a
He's-
good move.
He's a good move. He doesn't play a lot, but when he's out there, he was really good last year for the Red Sox. Pretty good hitter, decent fielder, at least up to this point.
Yeah.
They have Charlie Morton. Like, you lose Corbin Burns and you sign Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
That's not great. It's not
Right.
great. You lose Santander and you sign Tyler O'Neill. That's not
Yeah.
as drastic as Burns to Morton, but it is still a decline. So I think it's time to give. And their young group is incredible still, but I think it's reasonable to give the young group some more bona fide big league talent, especially maybe on the pitching side,
Yeah.
because they're a little thin there.
I'm
This wasn't the year for it, I guess.
No, I don't think so. And as much as I really look at this offseason and I'm like, it's not really great because they lost a lot more than they gained. And it's a similar story with a couple other teams that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But the Orioles have so much weight in kind of like impending doom with their younger guys,
And
and
their
they're
contracts.
gonna have to sign them. So I think they know that, and I think they're trying to win with what they got before they have to re-sign everybody, and then they're gonna see where they're at once everybody's signed, and then add the guys. Hopefully that's what their strategy is.
They got to pick their spots a little bit.
Yeah,
All right. Well, that was our time.
that is our time.
Those are some of the winners. Those are some of the losers. Next week we'll talk about Luka Doncic.
No, we won't.
I don't know what we're gonna do. Maybe we'll have a guest next week.
Maybe that would be really fun.
All right. Well, until that time, hopefully nothing happens. Well, actually, hopefully something happens because that'll make it exciting. Bregman, Pete, what do you want? Nick Pavetta.
Please.
We didn't get any Nick Pavetta in today, but
No.
that's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Alrighty.
Peace.
Peace.